One of the coolest features in Excel to visualize your data is the use of the Quick Analysis tool. So in this example here under the Units column, you can see that each of the rows is represented by a bar. The row which has the highest bar means that it's representing the row which has the highest frequency. The bar which is the shortest is representing the lowest frequency. So as an example here, for the unit cost, if we want to do the same thing as what we did for units, just highlight all the 4 rows and then this quick analysis icon is going to appear. Click on this one here and you will see the different options. There's an option for formatting, charts, totals, tables, sparklines. But in this case, I would just use formatting and then click on the data bars. And same thing with the total. If you highlight this one here, click on this one and click on data bars. And as you can see here, the 9999.5 has the highest bar. And in this case here, the unit cost, which has the shortest bar, costs only about $1.99. If we want to use the other options in the quick analysis tool, what we can do is highlight this one here, and each of the columns is representing the days of those months where the items were purchased. And then click on the quick analysis tool icon and click on sparkline and click on the line. And then if we copy that one, you can see that it's also showing a different trend line for that. So what this one is actually trying to represent is that for each of the bumps in your trend line is representing each of the days in that particular month you're looking at. And that's how you use the quick analysis tool in Excel. Sometimes you're dealing with data in which you have columns that have missing values for some of the rows. So in this example here, there is a column called region, and there are some values that are missing. In fact, the values that are missing represent the regions above them. So in this case, the missing values for this one is for Luzon, the missing values for this one is for Visayas, and the missing values for this one is Mindanao. And I want to populate those values with their respective regions. So one way on how to do it is by highlighting this one. Click on F5 and then go to Special and click on Blanks. When you click on OK, you will see that all these ones are highlighted. And what you just need to do is just press on Control and then click on cell. In this case, I would click on cell A4 2 times and that will highlight cell F4. So write a formula equal sign by copying the value above it. Instead of pressing enter, press Control Enter. And that will populate those rows that are missing. Another option in getting you to this dialog box here is by clicking on Find Select and go to Special. And then you can click on Blanks again. So that is a very simple way on how to populate missing values in your data representing some of the segments or the groups in your particular column. Two ways on how to concatenate 2 or more columns. First method is the use of concat function, and the other method is the use of ampersand. So in here, I have first name and last name, and I want to create a full name. By using the concat function, I would just type concat, and then click on the first name, comma, double quote, space, double quote, comma, and then the last name. And then there you go. So that's the use of the concat function. The other method is the use of ampersand, and this is how we do it. type equal sign, and then click on first name, ampersand sign, double quote, space, double quote, ampersand sign, and then the last name. Enter. And there you go. There are some situations where some of the tables that you're working with have columns that are not showing the values properly, and that is because the column width of those columns are very small. So in this case here, column B and C do not show their values properly. So one way to solve for that is highlight both columns and then click on the line between those two columns here, which is this one. If you double click on that one, it will already adjust this one. And that's actually how to solve the column width, and you're able to show already the values in each of those columns. However, if you'll notice here, some of the columns are not properly are not in the same width. There is a way on how to make them same width size by highlighting this one here, all the columns, and dragging any of the cells up to maybe width 12 or something like that. If you click on that one, you will see that all the columns have adjusted and they all have the same column width. And whatever I have applied on the columns, it can also be applied on the rows. So if you do like this one here, if you highlight this one here and then move one of the rows a little bit longer, you will see that all the rows adjusted as well. So that's how to adjust the column width or rows in your Excel worksheet. There are different ways on how to highlight the table. First option is by using a mouse. So place your cursor on the upper left corner of your table and then left click on your mouse and hold it down and drag your mouse down to the lower right corner of your table. And that's how to highlight it. The other option is when you're dealing with hundreds of thousands of rows where it is really impossible for you to highlight the table using your mouse, is to use the keyboard. So what you need to do is place your cursor on the upper left corner of your table and then hold Shift and Control at the same time, and then the arrow down and arrow right at the same time also. That's how you do it. The most commonly used option, and it's probably the easiest of them all, is the use of Control-A shortcut key. So click anywhere on your data and press and hold Control and then press A. And there you go. To insert a column between item and units columns, right-click on column E and then click on Insert option. And that's how to insert using your mouse. To insert a column using your keyboard, click on column E and then press on Alt, I, and then C. That's how to use a keyboard. To insert a row using your mouse, if you want to insert a row between 5 and 6, click on row 6 and right click on it and then click on Insert. And that's how to create a new row using your mouse. In Excel, it is very common that when you do perform a calculation, you have to make sure that you're fixing one area in your Excel to perform the right calculation. I have two examples here. Example 1 is showing person 1 up to person 4 in a form of, a row. In example 2, it's just basically the transposed version of this example 1. So when you do some calculation, like for example in this case, C9, which is value 22 here, multiplied by C2, which is factor 5. When you do that calculation and apply the same calculation to the other rows in your Excel, it will give you 0. And that is because If you click on F2, it is multiplying it. As it goes down, it starts multiplying it one level at a time from C2. So in this case, we have to fix row 2 here, because when we move down, we want to make sure that we are multiplying it with C2 again. So in this case, one way to solve that is if we click on F2 and then click on F4 to make sure that this one here is fixing both columns and rows. You can do that one, but in this case, I would like just to fix the row. So this one is fixing the row. So if you enter that one and then copy it down to the next rows, you will see that it has already fixed the calculation. So that is fixing $2. In this case, we have to make sure that we're fixing C, which is the column here. So as we move one column to the right, we don't want the factor to move to D, E, and F, where there's no value for it. So in this case, if we click on F2 and then go to the formula again, click on F4, that's the first one, it's fixing the column and fixing the row. Another F4 again, that's fixing the row, and another F4 again, and then that's fixing the column. So if you enter that and then copy this one to your right, so that's how to perform the right calculation in Excel, which you will encounter a lot of times when you are doing a lot of calculation. Merging a group of cells is very simple in Excel. We just make use of the Merge Center under the Home tab and the Alignment ribbon. So as an example here, under the region column here, there are 3 different values, one for central, and one for east, and one for west. If I want to combine all these one into one row, I highlight rows here, and click on Merge Center. To middle align this one, just click on this one over here, to middle align, and then now it's the center of those 5 different rows. And if we do the same thing with the east and also the west, and center that one. If I want to put a title over here, total cost by region, I can make that the center of this whole table here also by clicking on highlighting all these columns and then click on Merge and Center, and there you go. And then you can color this one and also highlight the text with white color, and there you go. Grid lines are the lines that run vertically or horizontally across your whole entire worksheet. And sometimes when you're working on a particular table, you prefer to have the grid lines removed. So the options to remove the grid lines is by going to View and click on the grid lines here. And then everything, all the lines that you're seeing here across and vertically are actually gone. The other way to do it fast is by knowing the shortcut keys Alt-WVG, which is actually this one over here. So if you click on Alt-WVG and you memorize that one, it automatically removes the grid lines. And the same thing if you want to put it back, it's Alt-WVG. Sometimes you would want to do a cumulative total of all the rows in your data. So in this case, you're adding the first row to the second row, and then the summation of these 2 rows to the third row, and then the summation of these 3 rows to the fourth row, and so on and so forth, up to the end of this table here. So one way to do it is if you click on this one here, what I am interested about is actually these totals here. So if you click on this one here, there's so many options below. So if I click on this one, the total of the summation of all your rows from H3 to H21 would give you about 7,509. So if I do average, this is the average, the count. So there are about 19 rows in your table, and then and so on and so forth. So, but what I'm interested about is actually the cumulative total. So if I move to the right and choose this one, the data that I'm getting here is actually just the individual value for each of the row. So if I click on the arrow here, you would see total here, so which is in terms of percentage, and then this is the running total here, which is the cumulative. So if I click on this one, that would give me what I actually need. So if I want to view the formula, which is actually by looking at this one here, I do have the formula on how it's being calculated actually. So that's it. Sometimes you want to find out if there are some calculations being performed within your Excel worksheet. And one way to do that is actually to verify the columns in your table. Like in this case, the total column is referencing to both units column and also the unit cost. Whereas the cumulative total column is referencing the total column by doing a running total of each of the rows up to the end of the table here. One way to do it is actually by clicking on Control tilde, and there you go. You will see that the total column has a formula and also the cumulative total has a calculation in it. The order date has changed quite a bit because the one that's being shown, this is the numeric value of your date field, but if you go back to the original, this is the formatted value, which is 010616 is actually an mm/dd/NYY, and that's how to do it. Sometimes you're working with a two-dimensional data where you're asked to find the value within your data for combinations of segments. So in here, this is actually my table here, and I was asked to find where the size is actually medium and the name is John. So the value that I'm actually looking for is the medium and the name of John. The value should be 87. So with a VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions, they're not going to work with this kind of problem. So how to solve this problem is by using the index function and also the match functions to determine the values of selected segments. So in this case, how I would do it is equal sign and then index. First, select the array of data that you want to find the value for, and then comma, and then type match. And if you want to match medium first with all the rows, so click on medium and then comma, and then highlight the sizes, and then comma, and then 0 for the exact match, and then type match again and do the same thing for the columns. So here John is one of the columns, and then comma, and then highlight this one, and then comma again, and then 0 for the exact match. And there you go. So if you want to find Alan and then low, type low, then type Alan, and that should give you 95. And that's how you should do it. To format a table is simply by using the number ribbon in your home tab. So in this case, the unit cost, I want this one to have only 2 decimal places. So if I highlight this one here, and then if you click on this one here, it would make the adjustment. And if I want this one also the same thing, probably in, a whole number here, but I want to put a $sign, just highlight both of them and click on a $sign. and that's if it is in US dollars. However, there are some situations where you have to convert it to other currencies. So in this example here, I would like to convert it to a Philippine peso, where the exchange rate is actually $50. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna write a formula, multiply this one by this one here, and making sure that I'm actually fixing the cell where the $50 is actually situated, so that when I move down this ones and then copy that one, it will be referencing to K2 rather than moving down another level one as I copy down the formula. So the problem here is that this is still in US dollars and I want to convert it to a Philippine peso. It's already converted to a Philippine peso, but this one here, it's still showing dollar sign. So one way to do that one is if we highlight this one here and the use of Control 1, it will bring you to the format cells. So in here, there's so many categories. It's similar to what the number ribbon has, but it has more than what you're getting in here. So if I want to convert this one to a Philippine peso, I will just go to currency, for example. And in here, you will see a symbol sign. And then if you drop this one down, or if I type P and then I move down, there is a Philippine peso here. Click on OK, and that has already converted it to a Philippine peso. That's how to use the Control+1 shortcut key in Excel to go to the Format Cells feature in Excel. To create the pivot table, there are two ways how to do it. First is you need to highlight your table, and then under the Insert tab, you will see the pivot table ribbon here. So if you click on that one, it will bring you to this table here, and you just need to click OK. And then you can actually start creating your own table here. Like for example, if I want order date here and the total, that's what the pivot table is going to show. However, there's another trick that I want to show to you. If you go back to the original source here, so your table is now highlighted. So instead of going to Insert tab and going to this pivot table ribbon here, at the bottom of your data, so like for example here, highlight your table here, and then you will see the quick analysis icon here appearing again. So if you click on this one here and click on the tables, and it will give you different options of pivot tables. So you have this one. If you point to this one, and above it you will see the format, the table, how it's gonna look like when it creates the pivot table. Or if you don't want by region, you can do by the different item, or you can actually do by the unit cost and by region. So if you click on, let's say, by binder, it will automatically create your pivot table here. So if that's what you want to show. However, I will drag this one out. If I want this one, the order date, and then by the different representatives. If you want to remove anything that's less than 2016, just click on this one and uncheck this one, and also this one for anything about December 22, 2017. And that's how your data is gonna appear. There you go. To transpose the data, just highlight your table by clicking on the upper left corner of your table, and then Control-Shift, arrow down, and then arrow right to highlight it. Control-C to copy it, and then move somewhere where you want to paste the transposed data to. And then under the Home tab, you can see the Paste ribbon here. Click on this one once, and then a set of icons will appear for pasting it. So the one for transpose is actually over here. So if you click on this one, it will automatically transpose your data. Then you can already delete your original table. And that's it. Sometimes you may be asked to present your Excel spreadsheet in front of a lot of people in a big room, and people at the back of the room are not able to see your presentation and ask, can you zoom your presentation? And one way to do that, by keeping all the columns and the rows intact, meaning as you present, you're able to show it on your screen. If you click on the zoom button here, sometimes it will eliminate some of the columns and some of the rows as well. And one way to actually show what you have currently on your screen is to click on Alt V U, and that will zoom in into your data with all the columns and the rows that you want to show. And after doing the presentation, just click on Escape, and everything will just go back to normal. And that's it. If you want to sort your data, there are actually a few ways on how to do it. For example, if you want to sort by region and then by ascending order of the order date, what you can do here is highlight your table, and then the first method is if you go to the to the home button, you will see here under the editing ribbon there is a sort and filter. Click on that one. There is what you call the custom sort. And one way to do it is, if you want to sort first by region and then ascending order, sort on cell values. And then if you add another sorting level, just add another level here. If you want to sort by the order date, just click on this one, and then from the oldest to the newest, and then just click on this one here. And that is actually how to do it. The other way is under the data tab. So if you click on data, and then there is the sort button here, and if you click on this one here, it will give you the same sorting window here. So that's one way. And the last approach that I would like to teach you is highlight this one. So let's unsort this one. So this one is unsorted here. So if you highlight this one here and then click on Alt D S, and that will automatically give you the sorting window. So it's the same thing. So just click on region and then cell values from A to Z, add a level, and then click on order date and then oldest to newest, and then click on that one, and then everything is sorted. So it's Alt D S is the shortcut key for that. And that's it. VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions in Excel are very useful to a lot of Excel users. How we use them depends on how the data is structured. So in this case, you have two tables here for VLOOKUP. So you have a table with 3 columns, and the columns are color code, items, and color name. The other table within the VLOOKUP area here has the color code and the color name. And what you want to do is that you want to populate this one with the value in the color name. So in this case, it's like red for our. So how do we do that is we apply the VLOOKUP function. So in this case, you have the address bar here. Just type equal sign and then VLOOKUP, and then open and close parentheses, and then click on the function symbol here. So here it brings you to the function arguments for VLOOKUP. And what you need to do is that you need to define each of these parameters here. So the lookup value is actually this value here. The table array is actually the array of columns where you want to find this value from. In this case, the color code and the color name. Highlight both of those columns. The column index number is the name that corresponds to the value that you're trying to look for. This is the first column and this is the second column, so you should type 2. And the range lookup, in this case, if it's an exact match, then we have to type false. So click on OK. So here, I just want to make sure that you're going to use F4 to lock the array. Make sure that the columns and the rows are locked in one place, so that if you copy this one, you will get the actual value for each of those color names. So with HLOOKUP function, it plays a pretty similar role to the VLOOKUP. The only difference is that the color code items and color name are situated in only one column, and then the color codes are actually the columns in your table. So in this case, the same thing. In your address bar, type HLOOKUP, open and close, and click on the function symbol here, and then the lookup value is here, R, and then the table array is the same as this one here, and then the row index is the converted or the translated value for these particular values here. So in this case, it's row 1 and row 2. So you type in 2, and then again type false and click on OK. And you want to make sure that you're also locking your columns, so that when you copy and move it to the other columns, the array will not move. It will be fixed in one location. So copy this one over here, and there you go. And that's how to use VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP functions in Excel. Sometimes you are working on a project in which you are tracking the performance of your business against a certain goal. You have an actual data, and then you would want to find out what would be the forecast for the remaining months to get to your goal. So in this example here, you have a 2-year goal of about $3 million. The actual data that I have is from January 2017 through April 2018. And I want to find out how much would be the monthly sales that I have in order to get to $3 million by the end of December 2018. So I have the average growth rate here of about 17%, and this was actually derived by averaging out the actual data from February 2017 through April 2018. And for my purposes, I have a 2-year goal of about $3 million. And one good thing about Excel is that there is a function called a goal seek feature in Excel, and that can be found in the data tab under the what if analysis ribbon. And if you click on that one, there's the goal seek feature here. The dialog box that's gonna open up on your screen, it has 3 parameters: the set cell, and then to value, and by changing cell. The set cell is the one that you're actually tracking. So right now it's about 2.2 million. So you want to make sure that it will get to $3 million by the end of December 2018. So the set cell would be H5 in this case. And you want to set this cell here to a value of about $3 million. So you would put $3 million in here. And then what would be the average growth rate on a monthly basis in order to get to 3 million? So by changing cell is what you're going to populate with the average growth rate here, which is the D2. So if you click on OK, and you will see that this number here changed to 3 million. And then click on OK, and initially I had 17% over here, and now it's about 25%. So in order to get 3 million, I need to have an average growth rate of about 25%. And that's how you can actually use goal seek to forecast what would be the monthly growth to get to your goal by the end of the 2nd year. Now I'm going to teach you how to use the table function in Excel to organize your data. So in this example here, you have a data where the list is actually getting bigger and you want to organize your data in a much better fashion. To organize it is to use the table function by pressing Ctrl T to highlight everything and then click on OK. There is a table header, so just click on this one here and then click on OK. So you have different designs of tables here. There's around 61 of those. Choose one of those depending on what you like. Now, one cool thing about this table function here is that when you have a table header here, click on anywhere on your table, the columns will change to the header name above there. Another cool thing about this one here, if you scroll down to the very end of your table, add a new data, let's say Andrews again here. This will automatically create the formatting of that table. So let's move back up again here. So one cool thing about this table also here, that if you add a new table column, let's say total cost, it will automatically format your table also when you add a new column. So when you multiply this one here, you will notice that the formula here is different from the usual one. And the reason why it is so is because when you enter this one, it will automatically carry over the formula to the rest of the table rows. Another cool thing about this one is that when you click on design, which only appears when you create a table, and you will see the different options here. The branded rows, if you uncheck that one, the color formatting disappears. But when you click on this one, it goes back again. So one cool thing about this one here is you notice that the total row is unchecked. But if you check on this one here, notice that it will create total row. It summarizes the total cost. So you could also do the same thing to the other columns where it's applicable. You'll notice that there's different functions there. And same here as well. And so on and so forth. So that is the use of the table function. Another special feature within the table format. For example, if you have a list of names here like the representative, and if you want to count how many entries of Jones are there, one way to do it is by using the filter function in Excel by clicking on this drop-down menu here. And if you unselect everything and then just click on Jones, you will be able to count how many Jones are there. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Jones. However, if your data is so big and counting it manually becomes impossible, one way to do it is within the table format is the use of the function called Countif. And then if you type T, you will see that there are a lot of functions in here except for one, which is a table. Table here is referencing the table that you created. So if you click on this one, you will see that the table will get highlighted. And to count how many Jones are there, just put a bracket sign. And then you will have here, which is a very special feature, the list of columns that you have on your table. So I'm referring to the column called rep. So if I click on this one and a close bracket and comma, and then look for the name Jones and enter, and you will see that 8 is the same as the one that we did a while ago. Sometimes you're dealing with data with a lot of duplicates, and there is a very simple way on how to remove them. So the way to do it is go to the Data tab and look for the Remove Duplicate ribbons. Click on this one. You will see this Remove Duplicates dialog box. It is possible that you have multiple columns with a lot of duplicates. Depending on which columns you want to remove the duplicates from, you can actually select it over here. So in this case, I want to remove the serial number duplicate, so I will uncheck this one and click on OK. So there are about 141 duplicate records. So click on OK. And that's it. If you want to protect your worksheet, click on Review tab and click on Protect Sheet. In here, it's asking you to put a password, and make sure that Protect Worksheet and Contents of Locked Cells is also checked, and keep this too checked also. Click on OK. And when you click anywhere on your worksheet, a dialog box is going to appear. Just click on OK. However, there's some situations where you want to lock some of the cells and keep the other cells unlocked. In this example, I want to unlock status and status date so that I can put the progress for each of these representatives and the status date as well. So now go back to Unprotect Sheet, and now everything is unprotected. Click on this one and go to Home tab and click on Number. And here you will see the different format cells tab here. Just go to Protection and just uncheck Locked. So now when you go back to Review and Protect Sheet again and enter your password and click on OK, enter your password again. And here, if you click on this one, you will not be able to make some changes here. But if you click on this one, you can make some changes to this one. And the completion date for that is that's it. Sometimes you're dealing with data where the text field goes beyond the boundary of the column. So in this example here, I have this paragraph here, and I want to make sure that it's going to fit within the column of a particular cell. So the way to do that one is click on Wrap Text, and you will see that all the text data is visible within the cell already. So, and if you want to create a break, just click on where you want to create a new break for and apply Alt Enter, another Alt Enter, and then the same thing here, and then just enter this one here. Then you will see that there are 3 sentences within this cell, which you could actually read much better than the original structure of the data. Sometimes you will have to deal with data that are not formatted the same way as you expected them to appear in Excel. So in this case, I downloaded a data from the internet, which is in the format of CSV, which stands for a comma separated values, or it's a comma separated delimited text file. So what it means is that each of the columns is separated by a comma. So in order to solve that problem when you copy your data in Excel, is to make use of what we call the text to columns feature. So the text to columns feature can be found from Data tab, and then there's a text to columns ribbon here. But before you click on that one, just click on column A and click on the ribbon. And in here, by default, you will see Fixed Width is checked. You will have to choose the delimited because it's a CSV file. So click on Next, and here you have different options here. So tab, semicolon, comma, space, and other. So since this one is already checked, just check on comma and click on Next. And you will see that the columns appear to be normal now. And just click on Finish, and you can already start working on this project. Here are some of the control shortcuts from A to Z, which you can refer to when working with Excel. The ones that are highlighted in yellow are the ones that are commonly used. In fact, these are the ones that I use most of the time. But there are some other control shortcuts which are not utilized all the time but are available. So if you're looking for shortcut keys, You can refer to this slide when you're working with Excel. One very cool feature of Excel is that it's able to recognize some patterns or series within your data. So in this case, I have different, field labels here, like days of the week, the months, the year, time series, and numeric. So for each of these fields, Excel is able to recognize some of the patterns in order for you to facilitate the kind of project that you're working on. So for example, if I put Monday here, and I have 20 observations, if I click on this one, it recognizes a pattern. So if this is Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So let me create another column here. Let's say another days of the week. Say Monday, and then I say Wednesday. So if I highlight these two and click on this one here, so every 2 days it's able to assign the day of the week. For months, if I click on January, and then if I click on the bottom right corner of this row, and then it's able to populate this one. And similar to year, in here if I put 2001, and then 2002, if I highlight these two rows and click on the bottom right corner of this selected cells, and it's able to populate it with the right years. For time series 1, so let's say if I put 12 a.m., then if I put 1 a.m., and I highlight this one also, and then it's able to assign also the different time. And then if I put 12 a.m. here, then 2 a.m., and then every 2 hours it assign a particular time. For numeric value, let's say if I put 5 here and then 10 here, and then double click on the bottom right corner of this selected cells, and then it's able to assign the series for this particular column. Sometimes you're given a task in which you have to get the sum of the products of each of the rows that you have in your data. So there are actually 2 ways on how to do it. The first way, which a lot of people do, is to create a field. So in this case, let's create a total cost field. And let's copy the format of that one and carry it over here. What you need to do is just multiply these 2 columns here for each of the rows that you have in your data. So this one multiplied by this one, and carry it over down to the bottom of your data. Okay. So what you're interested in is actually just the sum of the products of each of these rows, which is 3,956. So there's another way on how to do it without creating the third column. So that is to make use of the SumProduct function in Excel. So in this case here, just type SumProduct, and you will see array 1 and array 2. So in your table, this is your first array, and this is your second array. So you need to highlight the first array, which is the first column, and separated it by comma, and then highlight the other column. So what you're getting here is the same exact value of this one without creating another field. So that's how you do it. Yeah, sometimes you ask yourself, like when you start moving your data across your worksheet, and if you want to make sure that the order date is there, like it's fixed every time you move it, you're not able to do so. And the same thing with your row. So you ask yourself, how can you do that one? So one way actually to do that is by pointing your cursor over here and then under the View tab, and then you can actually click on the Freeze Panes ribbon. So if you click on this one here, there's so many options. Freeze Panes, that's for both columns and row. Freeze Pane, only the top row. And Freeze Pane, only the the column. So in this case, I want to fix both the row and the column, so I would choose this one. And as you can see here, if your first column and your first row are actually color coded, like in this case, you will see that there's a mark that the table is actually has applied the freeze pane feature in Excel. So if you move across your worksheet, you will see that the order date is fixed in one location, and the same is true also for the first row. So if you move down, you can see that the first row appears to be in one location, fixed in one location. So, but there are other ways on how to do, like for example, if you don't want to fix the row in one location, you could choose freeze panes, and then you want to freeze first column only. And as you can see here, the underline below the order date, the line below the order date is actually gone, but this one is still there. Yeah, so this is fixing the column but not the row. The row will be gone. So it's the same thing with if you want to fix only the top row but not the column, you will see that the line next to the region is gone, but the line under the order date appears. So in this case, the row is fixed but not the column. But I just want to give you a tip here, because sometimes it can be done pretty quickly without using the mouse. So if I would unfreeze that one, so both of them I have not applied the function there, or the feature. So if I want to do it, just click on Alt W FF to fix both. As you can see here, there's an underline here, and there is a line over here too. I mean, this one is actually a line under the order date. So this one is the line next to the region. So that is actually fixing both columns and the rows, the column and the row. And if you run across column, we'll see that the order date is fixed. And the same thing with fixing the column is Alt W F C. You will see that this one appears. That means it's fixing the column. Or Alt W F R is fixing the row. And that's how to fix the column using the Freeze Panes ribbon or using the shortcut keys in Excel. In this example, you have 3 tables representing each of the regions. One for total Luzon, one for total Visayas, and one for total Mindanao. And you'll notice that total Luzon is highlighted in green. If you want to copy the format of total Luzon to total Visayas and total Mindanao, Format Painter under the Home tab is useful for this example. So if you highlight total Luzon, and make sure to double-click Format Painter under the Home tab in order to do a multiple copy of the format from total Luzon to total Visayas and Mindanao. And there you go.